said he was on his way down, yeah. We took the stairs, so I don't know. I took the elevator up, but then I took the stairs down. So it was working. It was working when I went up.
Gentlemen, have a long trip home this evening. Call the 5 p.m. work session, Franklin City Council to order for September 22nd. Roll call, Mr. Kitchen.
Here.
Ms. Banks. Remember to use your microphones, folks. Mr. McLemore. Present. And Mr. Grizzard.
Here.
And obviously I'm here as well. Move on to the presentation. Mr. Payne and Mr. Rosenthal.
Rosenberg. So
I'm sorry.
I'm Kimball Payne. This is Steve Rosenberg.
Oh, this is Rosenberg.
Thal,
I'm sorry.
Right. Both of us have no pride in what we're called. But thank you for rearranging your schedule to come earlier today and accommodate our drives back to the western part of the state.
Is your mic on?
Yes,
Okay.
Apparently it is. Some of you have been through this process with us before, 18 months ago, about, and at least, well, 2 of you haven't. So we want to make sure that what we do throughout this entire process reflects the will of the entire body of the City Council. And so we thought it was important to meet with you again and to get your collective thoughts on how this process should go forward. I'm not going to presume anything from last time, but we do have, we think, a pretty good basis, at least of understanding of the city and an understanding of what was being looked for in the last city manager from the last process. So we'll talk about how that might have changed, and I know things have changed, and certainly possibly some expectations about what sort of issues and initiatives and priorities the new city manager might have to approach when he or she gets here. We're going to want to hear that from you as well. But we're also talking about potentially the recruitment of 2 other positions. One is the city attorney. We're going to probably start with a deeper discussion about that position first. And I'll let Steve lead that discussion. And then we also want to talk to you about the city clerk position. We understand that council has not formally approved a job description for that position yet, and I would like to at least explore with council an alternative approach that you might consider, that we have recommended, or at least I have recommended, to smaller communities across the state that seems to work fairly well. It's actually the model that I worked under for years when I was the clerk to a board of supervisors in a county that was 40,000 people. So it evolved over time, but so we want to talk about that as well. Our primary goal here today is to leave this meeting with an understanding of your understanding of the process that we're going to go through, and your agreement, or at least consensus or willingness to accept that process moving forward, and for us to have enough information that we can revise the position profile for the city manager, adopt that as a position profile for the city attorney, and then move forward to get these advertised. We both felt the need to come here tonight because of our schedules. I'm out of town next week, and then I'm going out of the country for a couple of weeks at the beginning of October, and we didn't think you should wait till November to start this process, which is about what it would have taken if we had to do that. So we really do appreciate you accommodating us tonight so that we can get this going. If all goes well, by the end of next week, we should have recruitment profiles on the street. and we should be advertising. And then around the 1st of November, we would expect to start our initial cuts of folks. Our process is that we would identify a group of candidates who were qualified, who met the qualifications of the position profiles, and we would conduct initial interviews with those people. And we're thinking that would probably take place around the second week in November. And then we would want to come back and talk to council, probably at your November the 24th meeting. And at that meeting, share with you the results of our preliminary interviews and help you to select some candidates for on-site interviews. And so we've got to juggle at least two positions, the attorney and the manager, but we want to work through your process there. If it works for you to have us here at your regular meeting on November 24th, we're going to probably need a couple hours again. So we need to figure out the timing of that. And then for the on-site interviews, those of you who did this will remember, it takes all day. And with two positions, it might take 2 days. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Microphone.
I just want to know, when did we decide to add the city attorney to the Berkeley group? When was that? Did I miss something?
3 or 4 meetings ago when Ms. Oglesby was still here.
I don't recall adding a city attorney to this. I just assumed it was going to be a city manager.
Okay. Well, so the work
I know
order
we've
actually
talked
says
about it.
3 positions.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember. I need some clarity on that. Or when did we ever reach a consensus that we were going to get?
I don't remember the date. I don't remember the date. We can go back and
to do
look
all
at
3 positions. Can we pull up minutes? Can we see when that was documented?
You can work on it.
Mayor, I can check to see. As I think I've shared, we are still working on finalizing the minutes from the last several meetings where we're catching up. But we do have drafts, so let me see if they're mentioned there.
Are they uploaded to the website? Because normally our minutes are uploaded. In the past they were.
I understand. As soon as we have them in a final form that council adopts, or we propose them for adoption at your hopefully next scheduled meeting, we would load them to the website at that point. But again, right now we're not at a point we have them to share with council for consideration and adoption.
Got you. So from my understanding, we did have conversation about possibly hiring a city attorney. We even had interviews in the past for a city attorney. However, I don't recall us actually coming to a consensus to say that we were ready to move forward with that. So
Okay.
I need some clarity before I'm comfortable with that.
Well, we're here to serve you and as a body, and so we will take whatever direction the body gives us to take.
Well, I think since you're here, you can give us the
We'll
rundown.
give you the rundown, but it will take a go from you to tell us to put the ad on the street. It's going to take a go from you to tell us to put this city manager's ad on the street as well. The third position that is mentioned in our work order is the city clerk position. Again, if there's no understanding that position was supposed to be done simultaneously with the city manager, again, we await the direction of the body. That's fine. We can talk about the other suggestion that we might have for
Well,
you to
and
approach
in
that.
your discussion with the city manager, myself, on
Thursday
last week, I think just in my opinion, your suggestion on city clerk may take care of that.
I think it's something you should consider, but if there's a question about whether or not we should even move forward with that position, we give you something else to think about. But let's assume, for argument's sake, that we're going to move forward with the city manager's recruitment, and the city attorney recruitment, if it occurs, would have a similar schedule. So we would probably be looking at sometime in December for on-site interviews, and life gets weird for people between Thanksgiving and Christmas anyway, but that's what we would be looking for. We need to find that full day at least, and so it's not too soon for you to start looking at your calendars. We don't need a decision today about that meeting, but we'll need a decision certainly by November 24th, so we can notify candidates that are selected for on-site interviews. And whether that can work in December or if it has to be delayed until January. That's something you need to think about in your overall body of work that's going on here and your interim's availability into January, February, March. If we were able to do the interviews in December, if there was consensus on a candidate, then possibly that person could get on board in January, possibly. It depends on their circumstances and what kind of notice they have to give and things like that. But I just want you to be aware, this is the process that's going to take 3 or 4 months, just like the last one did, and I don't want anybody to be disappointed that it's taking longer than they thought. Sure. Hello, Ms. Copeland. I need to shake her hand because I haven't seen her for 18 months. Good to see you again. All right, so Ms. Copeland, again, I'm Kimball Payne with the Berkeley Group. This is Steve Rosenberg. He's my colleague who will be working on this recruitment with me. We're having some discussion about how many recruitments it actually is. The work order that we have that was signed by 4 of you suggests that we will be hiring 3 positions, 3 positions, a city manager, a city attorney, and a city clerk. And that's what we came in here tonight prepared to discuss. There's some question about anything beyond the city manager that hopefully you guys can resolve.
So which 4 signed?
3. I'm sorry, I said.
Which 4 signed it? It was myself, Mr. Kitchen, Mr. Johnson, and Ms. Copeland.
So y'all doesn't need to tell the rest of it?
It went to all of, it went to everybody. It was emailed,
When y'all said that, I remember there was an email.
Okay.
yeah. It was emailed to everybody and asked for signatures for at least 4 people. Yes, from at least, yes. I sent them myself. And
Yeah.
I have digital copies of all of them.
We've got that. We've got a copy as well. That's what we were given by our bosses. So, but, okay. No, that's fine. Again, if I'm going to ask you to rethink anyway, if the board rethinks this, and this is your process from beginning to end. We're here to facilitate that process. We're here to give you our best advice because we have been doing this across the state for a number of years now. We have a process that we think works, that we think is successful, but if you have some other ideas about a process, and we'll go with the direction.
I totally trust the Berkeley Group, and I'm glad that you all are here. I just didn't know that you guys were also looking at the city attorney position as well as the clerk. I specifically thought you were here for city manager only.
Yeah. There was apparently some thought that this might be more efficient. Certainly it's fewer meetings for us and fewer meetings for you than if we were doing three separate recruitments. But we're confident in our ability to handle the city attorney and the city manager recruitments in parallel as a team. And again, we want to talk to you a little bit more about the clerk's position. One of the main distinctions, I think, between the clerk and the other 2 positions is that somebody will move here to be a city attorney or a city manager. I don't know that somebody would actually move here to be a clerk, although the pay range that we were given is not bad. But still, often it's a higher level administrative position. It may be somebody who's already in the community. And so that recruitment would feel different than a recruitment for a manager or an attorney. And so that's just something for you to consider. Let me just step back from it. So I've talked a little bit about the schedule. We're probably talking, if everything goes smoothly and goes well, you might get a new manager here and an attorney first of the year. But so that's the process and the length of time that we're talking about right now. As I said, we have a process that we think is useful or works. There are some opportunities for to amend that process if the board thinks if the council thinks that's desirable, we can certainly do that, and we will tell you when those opportunities arise. For example, in some communities, we have been asked to have some public outreach or receive some input on the job description. Well, we don't think that's necessary. We think we have a very completely decent, accurate job description for both positions, and we have a profile that we're going to see from you whether it's changed a lot, but we think it's completely workable position profile. Some communities have a public process toward the end of the process. Again, we don't recommend those things, but those are options that the council has to consider at the appropriate time. So with that said, we have given you some documents. Again, these documents are going to be, I certainly don't expect anybody to remember these from 18 months ago, so we'll just review them again for everybody, because particularly since 2 of you weren't here. But one of them is a general guidance document that just talks about a few points that we just want to bring up and make sure you're aware of. And the first one is a pretty important point. The best candidates who are interested in this position are probably already aware that it exists and are already watching. And they're gonna maybe watch your meetings, they're gonna read, they're gonna check your website, they're gonna read your minutes, they're gonna read newspaper stories. Anything you can do to help them understand this is a good place to come to work is something I would recommend you do. So enough said about that. We are working on this, on the profile that reflects the perception and the desires of this body. And so that's what our focus is on, putting a good profile on the street for them. Change is difficult for your employees. Please let them know that we're doing all we can do to hire the best person to come into this position. And I think any support you can give to them throughout this process is important. This process requires confidentiality. Many of the applicants are probably working somewhere, and it might be inconvenient for them if it became known that they were looking around. And I think we have a obligation, and we certainly have the moral obligation to respect their privacy through this process. There comes a point in the process where we can't guarantee their confidentiality. When we start calling references, for example, I can't control what anybody does. But we would ask that as you become aware of these names, as we get further along in the process, that we just keep it confidential and respect that from these applicants. It's important, I think, for the process, for the clarity of the process, that there be a single point of contact, both with the Berkeley group and with the city. I'm offering myself as a single point of contact for the city manager's recruitment, and Steve would be the single point of contact for the city attorney's position. We will be communicating with each other and know what's going on so we can back each other up. But if anybody has a question about the process, the job description, anything else, it should, if it's about the city manager, it should come to me. If it's about the city attorney, it should go to Steve. And then we can follow through that with that. It's helpful for us to have a single point of contact with the city, but that has to work also in concert with our commitment to you that we represent the body and that we represent all of you equally as equal members of this body. And so information that we share with council goes to everybody on council at the same time. And so what the best way to do that is what I would like to understand. And I can tell you what we did last time. Again, that can only inform today's decision. But last time, if I needed to communicate with council, I sent an email to all of you at the same time. So it was a group email to all of council at the same time. Now I copied the interim city manager, and Kamara Jacobs was on that copy as well, because she was our kind of liaison to make sure we weren't doing anything that was inconsistent with your employment policies or any of your procedures. It's always nice to have an HR professional to give us advice, because neither one of us are an HR professional. And so if that works for council moving forward, we would propose that we still do that. I can send a group email to all of you at the same time with the information that we're sending, copy Mr. Saunders and copy Ms. Jacobs. Does that work for you? Okay. I would just say that one of my practices or principles throughout my entire career as a manager, that if I ask the governing body for something, I would try to count the head nods, but to me, silence means consent. So if you disagree with anything we're saying or anything we're proposing, please speak up and let us know. Again, we are flexible. This is your recruitment as a body, and if we have an issue, we want to work through it.
Would you like us to give you voice yeses?
No,
or
sir.
nods?
No, sir. I'm fine. I'm just telling you right now, that's how we're going to go forward. Unless someone says that's not going to work for us, we need to consider something else. When we get to the point of doing reference checks, it's really important. You will know those names. You will have already identified those people as finalists. And that's when we start doing the reference checks on them and do the background check and everything else. We are not naive. We know that anybody who's curious about anybody goes and Googles them, and that's fine. That's all public access, public information. But going further beyond that in terms of trying to check references is dangerous to the process, and it's potentially could stall or kill the whole process. I worked in one community where I believe it was one of the members of the governing body had access to some insurance background reference things, and he did that on one of the candidates, and we had to almost stop the whole recruitment because he had no authority to do that for that person. We do have the authority to do these reference checks and background checks, and so we want to be very sensitive to that. Our goal at the end of this process is to have a unanimous vote from City Council for both candidates or three candidates. We understand that council members see things differently and they may disagree, but I think it's a good way to start a manager off with a public vote of unanimity. If that's impossible, that's just impossible. But even if you disagree, you can disagree in the back room and then come out here and support the body. But it's better to start that way. Sometimes we don't. So those are just some general guidelines that we've prepared for you. I don't know, Steve, you have anything you wanted to add? Any questions or comments from the council? All right. Our intention is to use the kind of the basic format of the position profile that we used last time and modify it to make sure it's up to date. And I think refresh it some, maybe on some photos if we can. But then to have one that's focused on the attorney and one that's focused on the manager. So they'll probably say a lot of the same things when they're describing the community, but when they get to what you're looking for in the candidates, then it's going to be obviously different. Hello, Mr. Johnson. It's good to see you again. Good to see you. This is Steve Rosenberg. He's a colleague of mine. Okay. And we're working on this together. Okay. Great. Let us start, if it's okay with you, with a discussion about the city attorney position. You know, we have seen the job description, but I think it's important for us to hear from the council the sort of things that you're looking for, character-wise, experience-wise, just the more subtle things from, you got to have a law degree. Well, we know that. But what are you looking for in an attorney? So let Steve get up here and I'll sit down.
I apologize for the extra small lectern.
Thanks, Kim. Mayor and members of council, I'm pleased to be with you this afternoon to kick off this process with you. Just a very little bit about my background, which I shared with the mayor last week. I think it would be helpful to the members of council to know that I am a member of the Virginia Bar and was an in-house local government attorney for most of my career. And so I bring that background to you and to this process and think it will be particularly helpful. It so happens that I also served on the management side as both a deputy city manager and a city manager for about a decade of my 35-year career. But for 25 years, I actively practiced law up until this time last year when I retired as the county attorney in Albemarle County. So I just wanted to share that with you. From our brief conversation with the interim city manager and your human resources director before your meeting this afternoon, I learned that it has actually been a considerable period of time since the city has had an in-house attorney. My understanding is that you have to go back to 2019 when the city last had in-house counsel. And so I think a useful starting point is just to give you all a broad overview of the typical role of an in-house attorney. You're accustomed to dealing with the city manager, but for the last 6 years, your legal counsel has been outside of the organization. And I would say that you're not precluded from continuing in that way, and that's one of the questions that we'll come back to, is whether you wish to have a full-time in-house employee who exclusively represents the city council, and its departments, or are you willing to entertain proposals from individuals or law firms who may have the city as one client, but continue to have other clients who don't have conflicts of interest with the city? So we'll come back to that, but let me just give you a brief overview of what the relationship would be like if you were to hire an in-house attorney who would exclusively represent the city and the city council and its departments. So you have under your city charter, you have 3 positions that are appointed directly by the city council: the city manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk. And so the city attorney's obligation is to this body. And the city attorney represents the city government, and the city government, of course, acts by and through the actions of this body. So the in-house attorney would provide legal advice, legal counsel to city council. And I think what you will find if you choose to have somebody in-house who exclusively works for the city government is that there's a much closer working relationship between that individual and the members of city council, the city manager, and the department heads than if you engage an outside firm to provide ongoing representation. Part of that is financial. If you've established a salary for an in-house attorney, and that individual is yours, there's no sort of reluctance for people to send an email to that person or to pick up the phone or stop by and talk to that person and pose questions or ask for legal guidance from that individual. If you're dealing with an outside firm, as you are currently, there's always sort of I think a bit of reluctance on the part of those with the organization, the client. Well, if we reach out and we seek this guidance or ask this question, there's going to be a cost involved. And every time we have that back and forth communication, the meter is on. And so there tends, I think, to develop a reluctance on the part of folks within the organization to avail themselves of the services that are being provided by that outside firm, and sort of a mentality takes over that we're only going to contact those folks when we really need something. Obviously there's a cost advantage. There can be a cost advantage to that, but I think you lose something potentially when you don't have somebody internal within the organization who is able to help plan and structure city actions and projects to avoid problems down the road. Now, in addition to this sort of cost sensitivity that I've touched on, I think that the benefit of having someone in-house is just that they are here and that they become integrated with and integral to the organizational team. And just in the same way that your city manager is functioning within the organization on a daily basis with employees at all levels, an in-house attorney has the same sorts of relationships on a day-to-day basis with folks with the city government. So, so that's a little bit of a background about, what the options are. And so I'm happy to hear from you as to whether you all have a preference or an inclination. And with the recruitment profile that we put out, we can leave open both possibilities. And as you see what candidates express interest in the position, that too could drive your eventual decision as to whether to appoint somebody who would be exclusive to the city as an in-house employee or may have a different relationship similar to the one that you have now with Sands Anderson. I'm happy to engage in a
comments?
discussion with you on that.
Any thoughts on that? Todd Johnson?
I'm going along with you. I think we're way too dependent on Sands Anderson. Any question that comes up, we're too quick to grab the phone, and we're racking up the billables every minute. That's why I'm all for a in-house city attorney.
Well, I kind of want the both of best worlds because basically I've experienced both. I've experienced having a city attorney and what happened in that aspect, we fired him because he was behind in everything we were trying to do to go forward and pull the city forward. The city codes, which even now have to be caught up. There's city codes and other things that had just racked up enormous. And so basically, I would be looking for someone that could handle that. And if they can't handle it, to outsource it so the work does not get behind. I think that would be the only solution for that. And having a firm, basically, as you said in one of your statements, pausing, is it worth calling them for this? I don't want to run a bill up. Is it worth calling them for this situation? Or wait till they show up or whatever, and so forth. I think having the both worlds would be having someone that's diligent enough to handle the job, basically. And if they see themselves getting behind, can outsource certain things, which would happen anyway, having a city attorney versus a firm, because the attorney is not knowledgeable about everything, basically. And what I mean by that is there are certain things that it takes expertise in the legal field in dealing with certain problems and situations where they would outsource that anyway. So I would think having someone that's knowledgeable and know when to outsource it would be the ideal situation rather than sitting around and trying to do everything themselves and get behind and then do not share it with the council, and the council have to find out later that everything is behind, and that's why the gentleman is no longer with us.
I think, Mr. Johnson, if I can elaborate or use a couple of your points as a springboard to share some more observations from council or with council. So I think you're right on in two respects. One is that in a smaller organization like this, where you're going to have a single attorney, which is an experience I had. I served as, the chief legal officer, the only attorney for a county elsewhere in the Commonwealth for 4 years. And when you're in that position, you may know, or you may have a relative knowledge about, let's say, 70% of the subject matters that one may encounter as a city attorney or a county attorney. But there will be, a subset of those subjects that are dealt with by any city or county in Virginia that you may not have experience with. And so there will be circumstances in which that individual will have a need to engage outside counsel to do legal work on behalf of the city, even if they are serving in a full-time in-house capacity. And so, one would hope, I would hope for that individual that your budget would contemplate that, and that it would include an appropriation of funds that would allow the city attorney the flexibility to engage outside counsel as necessary to deal with those areas that fall outside of his or her expertise.
So I may be a lonely soldier. I'm not in favor of an in-house city attorney at the moment. I'm still in favor of our current legal firm, which is Sands Anderson. And the reason why I say that, I do respect the fact that it may be costly, but I think by the time you maybe add an assistant and the attorney's salary, it may be almost equivalent. We had numbers brought to us before in reference to this, and we saw that the numbers were fairly close to what we wanted to offer as a salary. The next thing I'm just concerned about is biases. We've seen it with our city manager process, as well as the last time we tried to have a process with finding an attorney. It just did not go so well because of personal biases. I think having a firm kind of keeps that fine line there. So I'm just not in favor right now, still at this moment. I did promise to revisit it, and we are revisiting it. I'm only one person up here, but at the moment I'm not in favor of finding an in-house attorney.
Like Mr. Johnson, I too have had the experience of working with both. And I worked with an in-house city attorney for close to 8 years. And Sands Anderson has been here, as you said, since 2019. I am unequivocally committed to having an in-house attorney because of several reasons. Predominantly, a city attorney is dedicated to the well-being of the city, in the sense that the governing document of the city is the charter, and the city attorney only next to maybe or side by side with the city manager should be the most familiar to individuals in the organization with the charter. Also, the city attorney, I'm an advocate for a city attorney because that allows us to have someone to draft agreements on our behalf. We have had many situations in the past where, and as Councilman Johnson alluded to, one of the issues with the former city attorney, he would allow an opposing party to draft the agreements, simply saying, well, he knows more about it than I do. Well, who is protecting our interest if the other attorney's working on behalf of their client, who's protecting our interest? So I think when you have a city attorney that is in-house, that is competent, he looks out for the behalf of the city, whether it's negotiating a contract with SIPSA for 20 years, or whether it's negotiating an employment agreement. And he's also familiar with those agreements and the provisions within those agreements to guide us and to protect us from legal obstacles that we can encounter. I am for an attorney that is independent of everyone but the council. They work in conjunction with the city manager, but they don't work for the city manager. They work for the council. While they have a relationship and a rapport, they still, their priority is what is what does the council want? Not what do we think the council should have. Give us your advice, but we make the decision. Once we make the decision, you work on behalf of the council, not on behalf of the city manager, because your offices are side by side and you might eat lunch together. So I want an independent city council, city attorney. Also, I want a city attorney that is going to be able to, while he is, like you said, 70% is a good number to pick of him being familiar with most law. So therefore, there should be provisions for him to solicit outside. Perfect example, SIPSA. If you know that that contract may be an electric contract or a waste disposal contract may be a little outside of your purview, then he should have resources so that he can consult with another attorney who has more expertise in that area. So I don't look for them to know everything. They're not experts in all fields of law. Same way doctors are not experts in all fields. But he will have about 70%. And his dedication will be to this city and this city alone while he's here. So I am for us having our own city attorney. We can approach him pretty much at any time, the same we can a city manager. And I think that's very important. And so for all of those reasons, I think that we should have our own city attorney, and working with both the firm and the city attorney, whatever shortcomings that the previous city attorney had, I think the benefits outweighed it, because we had many issues. The Navy wanted to come in here one time, and we had a problem with him wanting, the mayor wanted the Navy to come. The citizens didn't want the Navy to come. The mayor tasked the city attorney to work on a contract with the Navy. He didn't consult the council and how the council felt about it. He went straight to the city attorney and told the city attorney, I want this to be your top priority. So a good city attorney would let the mayor know that, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, this has to be a consensus by the entire council. The same way with most of the actions with the city manager. So I think a good city attorney will help us with Robert's Rule of Order, our functioning as a body, and have our best interest at heart, and no one else's, not the other employees, as much as he does. Not to say he doesn't care about the employees. Of course he should. But his first priority is keeping the council legal, with legal advice. If there are two things that we have options of doing, there's one that's both illegal, then it's up to us, him to present both sides to us and let us make that decision, not try to guide us to doing what he'd prefer. And that's enough for my time.
Thank you. Mr. Rizzo?
Personally, I see benefits to both, the in-house as well as staying with the firm. I like the firm idea because of it being one group you can go with and they can pretty much handle everything. But I also see the benefits of the in-house. So I would pretty much weigh with whatever the rest of council decides. I want us to be together on it and make a good, wise decision to move forward in the future.
And I'd take a shorter version of what Mr. McLemore just said. I like the idea of an in-house city attorney. I recognize the situation that Dr. Johnson brought up. Of course, I wasn't on council at the time, but I was watching from afar, and we had a trial lawyer who wanted to be a Commonwealth's attorney and didn't make it twice, and the city just hired him and gave him a job, and he could handle a lot of the stuff, but he just wasn't capable. It wasn't his area of expertise. I want you to find us somebody who specializes in municipal law, government law, and that's what as you probably did as well in your time. But I do know there will be times, as you've mentioned, several others have mentioned, when we'll have to go out for outside counsel, and I want somebody that's willing to say, this is something that's outside of my purview. So I think we have a
my counting is that there are at least 4 of you who have expressed a preference for an in-house counsel. And so we can prepare the profile to reflect that. Let me also set some expectations about what you may find when candidates begin to apply. You may receive applications from individuals who are currently serving as city attorney or county attorney in other localities. It is even more likely, I believe, that you will receive applications from individuals serving currently as assistant city attorney or assistant county attorney or a deputy city attorney or a deputy county attorney. Someone who is looking to take the step to be, as I've described it, the chief legal officer of a locality in Virginia. And I can share with you a long list of names of individuals who have taken that step and who have succeeded tremendously in their role as city attorney or county attorney. So, you know, when the time comes that Kim and I conduct screening interviews and we present to you, you know, candidates for you to consider for interviews with council, I just want you to keep in mind that there may be, you know, some combination of positions held previously, and it could be the case that, you know, some of the folks who serve as assistants or deputies in their localities have been in those positions for considerable periods of time and are quite talented and experienced. And so I just offer that to you in the way of setting some expectations for you.
Can I don't mean to disparage the gentleman that was here before, because he was a good trial lawyer, and he probably would have made us a fine Commonwealth's attorney. Just he wanted to get out of private practice, I think. So
do you mind if I just kind of ask this question?
go right ahead.
So, like, the way I'm listening tonight, 3 of you have said that you are pro the in-house attorney, but it was a lot of problems with the previous one. Could we just highlight the problems with the firm outside of the cost? Because I would like to know and weigh the difference between, I mean, I've heard problems mentioned from Dr. Johnson, you, and Councilman McLemore about having the last in-house attorney. But other than cost, I hadn't heard any negative about Sands Anderson. So could I, or having a firm. So what are like the top 5 reasons we would compare having the in-house attorney versus the firm?
Does anybody want
Okay. Well, one situation is the signing of documents and putting contracts together and et cetera with Sands Anderson, having other clients. The length of time has been a long time, and with that, there's been some things that we have not completed even now with that situation. That's one of the main things, basically, because, well, they bring the knowledge in the fields because they have different persons to work on different things on the legal aspect. That is a good thing. And that's why I was talking about getting, if we got an in-house attorney where the individual would need the flexibility to outsource so that situation would not be lost in knowledge and so forth. But I think timing is one of the keys, because there are some things in government, city government, if you don't have your act together on certain documents and contracts, you can lose what you're trying to accomplish very quickly, because time doesn't wait for anyone. That would be my primary thought on that.
Thank you. That's actually 3 good reasons. So timing of signing documents, flexibility, and I can't remember the third one. It might have been the top. It's okay. It's all right. They would.
Time, I said time, flexibility, documents.
It's okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Ms. Kitchen, you have anything?
I'm talking to school because you and I weren't even here, but I was very familiar with the city attorney. I didn't like the way he would pass off anything that would, was a conflict of interest in his mind as far as the city police sergeant versus the chief of police. I'm not touching that when somebody else has to do it. First thing you know, you've done that so many times, you double your salary, put it in somebody else's pocket.
Anybody, did you want to make comments more than you said?
One thing that I've experienced with the firm is the rotating attorneys. We've had several attorneys sitting in that seat over there, and one attorney may be here for to give legal advice, and they experienced what occurred in the meeting, and then the very next meeting, the issue might come up, and it's not the same attorney. So sometimes things can be lost in communication. I don't like having rotating attorneys. I like consistency so we can all stay on the same page. That's one thing. Then there is the obvious, which is just my opinion and the opinion of the local newspaper, that there have been issues that we were given poor legal advice on in regards to FOIA and in regards to discussions, contract discussions that we had. I asked an attorney, one of the attorneys, are you familiar with, and I can ask you as well, since you were a practicing attorney, are you familiar with the term reasonable men can differ?
Sure.
Okay, when I asked that to the other attorney, he had never heard of it. Well, I really, really liked the young man, but he's only been practicing law 5 years, and he was unfamiliar with what that term means, and it is a legal terminology. So I think that when dealing with the firm, as my colleague pointed out, what were the problems with Sands Anderson, I think that Sands Anderson is a very big firm in Richmond. And with my understanding of law firms, the named partners are usually the top attorneys in the firm. Well, I don't see Franklin as being one of their key clients. So I don't think that they would send us for an hour drive down, an hour drive back, their best. If anything, I think they'll send us whatever they can to get their billable hours and say they're providing us with an attorney. With the degree of that attorney's expertise, as well as the attorney working on behalf of the council, I gave an example. There was a situation where they were saying that we could possibly be sued. Well, true, as you know, people can be sued for anything. The question is, will they win? I'm looking for an attorney that's going to tell me, yes, they can sue us, but if they try to sue us for this, I can stop them with that. If they try to come with this, I can try to stop them with that. I'm looking for an aggressive attorney that is going to work on behalf of the council, not one that would just rather, let's settle it out of court. I don't want to go to court. But if we have to go to court, it's a lot better than if we have our own in-house attorney going. And I've seen with Sands Anderson, they want to do what most lawyers want to do, plea bargain it out. We don't have to deal with the court. So therefore, that was one of the problems, or a few of the problems that I found with the firm that we had that I would like to avoid with another firm.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. I want to clarify for council that the decision is not necessarily between appointing an in-house attorney and staying with your existing firm. But the question, as I have posed it to you, is do you have a preference between an in-house attorney on the one hand and a law firm
Not necessarily.
on the other hand, not necessarily your existing firm? So I appreciate the concerns about the current engagement, but for our purposes here, the question of importance to me is there a preference on the part of council between an in-house attorney or a law firm? And I understand, again, counting, I think that there are 4 of you who have a preference for an in-house attorney for the reasons that each of you have stated.
With all due respect, the only reason I went there was because of my colleague said that we had given, besides the money part, what were the other problems that we had with the firm.
Yes, sir.
And that's the only reason I went there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Before I wrap up my portion, I just want to ask Ms. Copeland if she has anything that she wants to share with us to inform us as we move forward with the recruitment for the city attorney.
Well, to be honest, I know I signed the agreement, but I'm kind of torn between an in-house attorney and, our own attorney or a contractor attorney. So that's the only comment I have.
Thank you.
This is going to be very brief. I just wanted it to be known, since this is it's a public work session, I wanted the public to be aware of where we all stood and if there was any problems that we had with a firm versus an in-house attorney, because all I had heard was problems about the former in-house attorney. So I just wanted to know and highlight that for the public's sake so they could know and be aware.
So I think as Kim has shared with you, we have your position description for the city attorney position. And so this will form a significant component of the recruitment profile that we prepare for the position. The profile, I think, as Kim has already suggested, will largely mirror in most other respects the profile for the city manager position, which I believe has been sent to you. The last version has been sent to you. So wherever we wind up with that in terms of the profile of the community and the significant issues to be addressed by the new city manager. You know, obviously the city attorney will have a role to play with those issues as well. So you can expect that the profiles will be rather similar, except for the nuts and bolts of the responsibilities of the appointee and the qualifications for the appointee, which will, of course, touch and concern graduation from an accredited law school, a certain number of years of experience practicing law, preferably with local government in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but very much matching up with the final profile for the city manager position. Any questions?
I just have, in producing your profile or whatever, I hope that you will use the charter as a guide, a very strong guide, because there is an extensive chapter on the duties and responsibilities of the legal department for the city, as the charter states.
And my hope is that that's reflected in the position description, but Mr. McLemore, I will be certain to consult the charter to make sure that we draw anything from it that is not in the city's position description for the city attorney position. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ask a couple of questions just to kind of focus.
I think Dr. Johnson had a follow-up.
Yes, I had one quick question.
Microphone.
For you. I know you pointed out in the beginning some of the things about an attorney and so forth, and you gave your background and so forth. What is it that you think we have not asked you that would be relevant in our decision-making process?
So I, with my, with the overview that I gave to you, and then the questions and the give and take that we had along the way,
Yes.
I've tried to elicit from you, the things that I felt are important for this council to consider. And so I don't think that there's anything at this point that you've missed, Mr. Johnson. I feel like, and we're going to hear from Kim here.
He's got a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share.
Okay.
And see if maybe this is, and I'm not familiar with the job description. Steve has read it. But in some communities, the attorney is expected to have a relationship possibly with the school board, or possibly with the social services department, or possibly, who else is out there? My experience in the city was the city attorney's office, which had several attorneys, provided support to the school board, provided support to the social services department. In many communities, that's contracted out, or the school board does its own thing.
Our school board has their own attorney.
Okay, so those sort of relationships is something that someone who's interested in this position wants to kind of understand, who am I going to have to deal with here?
That's in the charter.
Okay.
Verbatim.
That's in the charter, okay.
What about the city owns an airport, which
Yes.
is a department of the city government? Are you aware of whether the attorney previously has provided the representation necessary for that operation?
I believe everything except.
He did.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
yes,
everything
he did.
except
He did.
the school board, I believe.
Okay.
And so,
Well, he was the school board attorney for a while.
At that time, at one time, right.
At one
yeah.
time he was.
Yeah, I think when the city, yeah, that's right.
Yes, yes.
Obviously before me.
Was that contradictory to the charter, or was that just something that?
That's required according to the charter for under his duties.
Oh, okay.
To cover the school board too?
The charter says that the chief legal attorney for the city will also be a representative for the school board. Now, it says a lot in the charter in regards to different things. For instance, we have an independent housing authority, but it wasn't until it was brought to our attention that the council has the authority to appoint 2 individuals on top of the sitting board or commission, housing commission. We can appoint 2 council members to that commission additionally. So there are lots of details that are in that charter that effectively, we could probably, based on the city charter, say, we want you to use our attorney to the school board. But I'm not an attorney, so I can't say that we can trump them because I'm not familiar with all state guidelines, but it does mention the school, that the attorney is responsible for the school board as well.
Okay, so one of the things for us to do is to review the charter and to see where the charter language is obligatory or where it's optional.
We're also,
Where it says
we've also
shall or
been-
where it says may.
we've also been looking at charter revisions to update the charter.
Okay, well, it would be important for us to tell an attorney candidate that they need to get involved with a charter revision as something that they would be expected to do probably in the first year or 2 of their term here. And so I wanted to pivot to a couple of those expectations of what the attorney would be walking into. But one other quick thought is you have an economic development authority.
Yes.
Is the attorney expected to provide legal advice to the economic development authority, or does the authority have its own counsel?
To my knowledge, they do not even have an attorney.
Okay, well, I mean, there are legal documents that are often, EDA has to form, whether a city attorney does that or separate counsel. My experience was our EDA had a separate counsel, but again, you're a
But
much
it's
smaller
a joint,
community.
it's 2 jurisdictions. It was Franklin, Southampton, so.
And I think
Okay,
it's,
so-
I think that it's an independent corporate entity
Okay,
that is not an authority.
it's
It's a
it's
public-private
a part of body.
partnership.
Yeah, what's-
Yes,
it's a
excuse me.
governing body.
What exactly was your question? I
The
think I have
question was,
answer.
I'm just trying to understand the breadth of expectations that there might be about an in-house attorney. Social services, school board, airport, which is unique, and so we ought to, point that out, that that's a unique thing, because you got to deal with federal government then.
Right.
So, housing authority, EDA, we want to be clear about the expectations of the position.
I can help you with that. The EDA, we have our own attorney. I serve on the board of the EDA.
Okay,
We
there you
have
go.
our own
Then
attorney.
you don't need one.
on
You mean EDI?
What's the EDA?
EDI.
EDI,
Yeah.
EDI,
Economic Development Authority,
Economic Development
or
Authority.
do you have an Industrial Development Authority, which, I don't know which, it depends on what you call it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, Economic Development Incorporated, the joint, okay.
It's
Right.
it's a corporate entity, separate and distinct from either participating locality.
Okay, but it has the authority of an EDA to issue bonds and
No, I don't.
do all that stuff?
I don't think so. I
Okay,
don't
we'll
think
have to
so.
research that and see,
Well,
because,
there is another one that we haven't had in function for a while, and that's an economic authority separate from the IDA.
that's, we'll look at that and see.
Um,
We'll figure out.
And with the housing authority have their own legal attorney as well.
Okay, and that would be interesting to
Yes.
know, because that person would at least be a colleague to that person, but also they're, depending on what sort of interaction there is.
Right.
In terms of expectations of things that the attorney would need to accomplish in the first whatever period of time, I've heard at least 2 things now. I've heard a charter amendment, which definitely your attorney has to be involved in. I've also heard getting the code updated
Yes,
and keeping the code
updated.
updated
City
is
codes,
important.
yes.
So an attorney would need to understand that that's an expectation fairly quickly.
It's been 10 years or
Well,
more.
I mean,
yeah.
and there's a process that if you stay on top of it and you use an outside firm like Municipal Code, I don't know who does your code, then there's a way to do it, but the attorney's office has to sign off on these things and make sure it gets done. Preparing resolutions for you, preparing ordinances, those sort of things, and those are the sort of documents that you're talking about.
Yes.
The routine stuff of your governing that has to be done in a legal form, your attorney needs to be on top of that, and then that needs to get recorded in the appropriate way and documented in the appropriate way. I'm just trying to see, can you think of what other things particularly if they've had outside counsel now for 6 years, what an attorney would be set up in office. You're going to need that support, or figure out how that's going to work. The expectations of this individual when he or she gets here.
So I have a question in regards to the expectations. So if I'm all for using the charter as a guide because that's the charter, right?
That's the law.
But what if, right, that's the law. But what if there are discrepancies like the whole school board situation? And I mean, they have not been providing legal for some while, since probably Taylor Williams. So I'm just confused as how do we justify that they have to use the charter for some things but not all things? We need to kind of be clear on that before moving forward.
So I think one of the things an attorney who comes in here probably ought to do is educate the governing body and the staff on what the charter says. And then you can decide where you're not being consistent with the charter and whether that matters or whether you want to change the charter.
Mr. Saunders?
Saunders?
Kim and Steve, so in my experience with the issue that the Councilmember McLemore raised with the school board also being represented by the city attorney, is that has been handled as a outside engagement where the city attorney, because they are the only attorney for the city, has to approve who is engaged by the school board, but you do allow for the school board to engage a third party as counsel, essentially under the supervision of the city attorney, but with enough legal separation that they feel that they have independent counsel.
Yeah, and that's a completely consistent probably workaround. Or
It's up to the city, the governing body, to say if they want to have their own attorney, let them have their own attorney, and our attorney says that's fine with me. You know, they can have their own. There's less load on them.
Right.
But the chief legal representative of the city is our city attorney.
Correct, correct. We just want to make sure that when someone reads this profile, they have a reasonable, as good a description as we can of what they're walking into and what the expectations are going to be beyond the day-to-day stuff that would have a reasonable expectation of. But if there's anything particular you're going to want them to focus on, such as the charter, such as getting your code up to date.
When we had this conversation, the only one was here was Dr. Johnson at the time when we brought on Sands Anderson, I want to believe. Was you here, Mr. Kitchen, when Sands Anderson came on? Okay.
2019. So.
Yeah, okay, well, that was one of the main things we told him because Taylor Williams had been removed. And okay, well, remember we asked Sands Anderson to do the codes and bring our codes up to speed. Back then, that was one of the considerations that we asked them then. And as we are here today, they still haven't been addressed. So that is something important.
So it's
and
an
I think expectation. And I think the last thing is that I don't remember everything verbatim from our charter, but I do think in certain positions that it does lay out. It says at the end, and other duties as deemed by the council.
Right, right. And that's fairly consistent for any job description, other duties as assigned. Lincoln?
Just for the benefit of council, again, as I'm getting up to speed, one of the items that does seem to have been in the works, though not fully executed yet, is a code update. It does seem that the former city manager had started conversations with, if not MuniCode, one of the associated consultants who go in and help get your code updated. So we'll continue to keep that ball moving forward to make sure we get the city code updated, assuming that we have everything we need to keep that piece moving forward. The only other item I would just briefly mention, perhaps for council to consider including in this either job expectations or kind of future work, would be the master plan refresh, because it's considering that hopefully at the end of that there also could be zoning and other updates and changes.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask that question. I was getting ready to ask, when you think of the things that an attorney does, from land use to some finance oversight, some HR oversight, those are probably the three big areas. Am I missing anything?
And governance.
And then just overall governance. Is there a particular area of focus? I mean, we'd like to have a person who's absolutely wonderful in all four areas, but is there a particular area of concern that this council would have that you would want this person, if we find someone who's a little bit stronger there, that would be good. Whether it's finance or HR or overall governance or land use. Those are kind of the big areas where attorneys get involved.
I don't want to weaken any of them, but.
Okay.
I think only because we have all agreed that I think, if my memory serves me correctly, we have all agreed on economic development as being one of the things our city needs to work on. And with that being the case, I think land use is very important, because as we determine how we use this land, other cities have used their land for economic development. So an attorney who's familiar with how to make that work effectively could be a priority that would be receptive.
The attorney would work very closely with your community development director as well, and your economic development director, to make sure that works. All right, is there any particular, we're going to talk about some of this with the city manager, and you can look at the profile, but is there any particular style or soft skill that you think it's important this person have?
Well,
They got to get along with the city manager. Okay, that's number one. They can't they can't be in a silo. They can't close their door, lock the staff out, and say, I only work for the council. That will not work. I'll tell you that right now. I totally respect what you said. They work for the council, but they have to have a relationship with the rest of the staff. And
All the department heads.
Yeah.
the best attorneys that I ever had were the ones I could go to and say, I really need to do this thing. Help me do it. Don't tell me no, because I know all the reasons I can't. Help me to figure out how I can. They would help do that. And they can do that for council as well.
They need to be problem solvers.
If the first words out of their mouth is no, then they're not being very helpful.
They need to be a problem solver.
yeah. Well, one of the main things, a city manager has to have communication with not only the council, but staff as well as working with individuals of communication. Even when individuals call the city manager outside of the council and staff, say one in the community, a person in the community calls, they have to be able to establish a relationship and a rapport with that individual, because they're representing the city, and whatever they say, that individual is affected by that.
I completely agree. Yes, sir.
You know, we have a unique situation in Franklin, one of only about 12.5 jurisdictions have, and we have our own electric department. So when you have an electric bill that you think is wrong, you go to Dominion Power, but here they come to City Hall, and they get pretty upset about it.
Well, they do it on your water and sewer too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But electric is unique.
Yeah,
And-
people want
and-
to talk to the city manager or the mayor or, somebody when it comes to, Mr. McLemore and I were walking through the lobby one day and were approached by somebody and, we knew why their bill was high because they were using a lot of electricity, but, they
Right.
said a few things to us that let us know right away they were running space heaters all over the house to keep from running their heat pumps.
Well, there's
still, you
another
had to
thing.
find a way to tell them that they were wrong.
That's something else that's unique, and I don't know if there are any particular rules or laws about running an electric utility as
I'm sure.
opposed to running a water and sewer utility, but if there are, this attorney is going to need to get up to speed on that.
That's right.
So that's unique, and so airport, utility, those are unique things that full-service communities provide in some cases, but an attorney, the manager needs to know this too, and so we'll make sure that those things are reflected.
I just want to say, rarely do I do this, but I got to take the opportunity. I commend you, Mr. Mayor, because nobody had mentioned the electric department, and one that was very good, because that city attorney will have to familiarize himself, as I was explaining the situation with Mr. Williams. He was like, well, I don't know that stuff, so I'm going to let their attorney do the agreement. Hold up, but they're going to make that agreement one-sided to their benefit. So he should have reached out for outside
Well,
consultation.
and that's the case where,
Yeah.
at least in my experience, the attorney said, I'm not doing that, I'm gonna get outside counsel. I will also tell you, in my experience, it was very rare, maybe it's different in yours, Steve, that the attorney was actually in court in a trial. They would usually bring in outside counsel for that. Is that what your experience was? I don't want to make sure the expectations are.
Yeah, in a smaller locality, it would not be unheard of
Okay.
for in-house counsel to handle litigation.
Okay.
Especially, pre-trial.
Okay.
So, a little bit different, in that situation.
Okay, so the expectation is that this person will be comfortable in a courtroom then, obviously.
I think so.
So we
yes.
need to be,
Yeah,
again,
because there
clear
will be
about that.
some matters that can be handled in-house, and can be handled in-house more efficiently than engaging outside counsel to
Great.
handle.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
so
litigation.
Many years ago, I just thought about this when you mentioned that. Many years ago, Mr. Kitchen and I were young police officers. The city attorney handled the prosecution on misdemeanors, yeah, because the Commonwealth attorney won't do that.
Yeah, that's a relationship between the Commonwealth's attorney and you and your local attorney as well. We need to pivot on, because I'm sensitive to your time, and I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
make sure we get on to the city manager. But this has been very helpful, I think, for both, because we do understand the uniqueness of Franklin, and we'll put that in both descriptions. But we gave you a copy of the job description that we used about 18, or the position profile that we used about 18 months ago. And so I just want to walk through it briefly and see what might be different. I'm gonna update the things like your population and the budget and the number of employees and all that. That's, you don't need to worry about that. I've got a copy of the budget that was adopted, and we're looking at all that. I've told you right now, our hope is to get this on the street first week of October, and then to have our first cutoff, just for us to start looking at people to interview around November 7th. And so that gives about 30 days for people to get their applications in. And we want to come see you on the 24th. Those of you who've had a chance or to look at the qualifications and the experience, do you see anything that needs to be, that we missed last time, that we need to stress more this time, or that we need to take out because it's not relevant? That was on page 13. Thank you. I'm trying to get there quickly. Bachelor's degree, master's degree preferred, 5 years of progressive, responsible, senior level executive experience in management of a municipal government, a business, or a nonprofit. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I think this is pretty good. But if there's anything that you see that's not there, please speak up.
I apologize. I read it but didn't print a copy. I'm pulling it up now.
So we talk about being an effective communicator in here. We talk about experience in government, multitask, commitment to professional development. Residency within the city is still expected of this new manager, right?
We haven't been, it'd be nice, but we have been requiring it.
Okay. I think we can leave it as an expectation, and then when you get into a negotiation with a particular individual, you can negotiate how that relationship is, and in some cases,
Yeah, every city manager has stayed locally.
Amanda lived in Cortland. I'm sorry, within,
I'm so sorry.
no, it's local, I'm sorry.
It's not in the city limits.
That's right, that's what I heard, I'm sorry. I did not hear proximity.
we worked with one community that said they wanted the manager to be within a 30-minute radius. So when the thing breaks, they can get back in town.
I want the manager to pay the same taxes that the citizens pay.
I understand, but again, I think we will leave it as expected to live in the city, reside in the city limits. We'll see how the negotiations go with the successful candidates and see what they're, some places where they're given 6 months or a year to actually physically relocate. We just have to see how much you like the person and how much you want to get them and what it's going to take to get them here. So some of the personality traits we talked about: absolute integrity, tactful and diplomatic, a strong interest in an active citizen, civic engagement, a leadership style that works for and with the city council, effective communicator, public relations, critical thinking, an active member of the community, attending city events, a role model and mentor for city employees. Again, I think this is pretty good stuff. We got it from you last time. Again, if we're missing anything, please speak up. So what I would like to focus on then is, first of all, kind of the immediate performance expectations, which would be engage the staff, the community leaders, the council, look at your infrastructure needs, look at your budget, become familiar with how our utility operates. We did get that in there last time. The last time there was an expectation that the manager would initiate discussions with council about a strategic planning process. And so again, if that's an interest. My understanding was that the comprehensive plan update was getting ready to start 18 months ago, but my understanding today is it hasn't started.
Correct.
So is that going to be a performance expectation of the manager to get involved with that as it moves forward?
It's so outdated.
Yes.
Okay, good. When was the last time it was adopted?
2015.
Okay. Communications with council and other stakeholders, and then a representative of the city. So again, I think we've got it, but if there's something that you think is missing, please. My intention is to have a draft to you by the end of the week. And then you can look at it next week, and if we've totally missed something or something's totally wrong, please give us that feedback. Again, if we don't hear anything, we're rolling. So silence means consent. But we want to make sure that expectation is met. The other things that were, there was a section in this recruitment profile, which is where I was kind of going with some of the questions about the city attorney, was issues, challenges, and opportunities. That again, this is in the little bit longer term frame, 2, 3, 5 years. This is what the manager is going to have to be thinking about. One was developing the local workforce. And I know economic development is important. One was helping council address affordable housing. There was a concern when we were here 18 months ago that your crime statistics were not accurate in reflecting how safe the community was. Is that something we leave in this, or is something we take out of this? Is that something that's just kind of, it was important to you 18 months ago. Is it important today that be in a recruitment profile?
Excuse me, that was what?
It says, this is under the section of issues, challenges, and opportunities. It says city council is concerned that reported crime statistics do not accurately reflect that the city is, in fact, a very safe community for residents and visitors. Crime reporting methodologies and ratios inaccurately portray the city in a negative light. The new city manager will have an opportunity to work with the police chief to determine how best to address this issue.
Can I, Chief Porty, can you hear me? Can you step in just for a moment?
Is that something that needs to go in a profile?
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, that's...
So apparently 18 months ago, could you read it? I'm reading in very fine print here. Reputation.
He said he gave her a report, but is it something that you want reflected in this profile?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay. All right. Another one was to really address your financial investment in infrastructure and your CIP. I think that's probably ongoing. You need to focus on that. 18 months ago, there were several capital projects underway, including a river walk, renovations to the historic courthouse, and a new community recreation center. Are they complete? Still underway?
Courthouse is complete. The river walk is
Ongoing.
the circuit court one is, we're doing a renovation of our city courts building.
But not this, is that the historic courthouse?
No, that's been done.
That's, okay. So you're doing, I'm thinking about what big capital projects will be underway in January? That the manager's gonna have to get up to speed
We're
on?
getting ready to start the recreation center.
Okay. And the Riverwalk is done?
It's not complete, it's in phases.
Okay,
The
second
pavilion
phase has
should
been
be
completed.
done
The pavilion
before
should be-
the new manager
all
will
right.
be here.
The
Is my
pavilion-
understanding.
Yeah, pretty much done.
All right, so the biggest capital project then would be the recreation center?
And the radio system,
Radio system, okay.
And I do think the courthouse will still be,
the city
Yes.
courthouse.
City
Yeah.
courthouse.
That has not started yet.
Okay, all right. The last issue that was listed on those issues of the 6 last time was a comment that the manager would be looking at an appropriate staffing structure, and it mentioned that there was no assistant or deputy city manager. Staffing structure is still something I think a new manager's gonna have to look at.
So all department heads have been filled,
Okay,
but we do not have an assistant or deputy.
okay, and then, so now, this position description also says that the manager serves as the city clerk, so we need to talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
And I think this covers pretty much everything in here, but please, as I'm reworking it and updating it this week, if you see anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You've got my contact information.
Have you gotten any, I sent mine late. You've probably already gotten here by the time I sent mine this evening.
Yes, I have not seen it, so.
Okay, so have any of you sent the questionnaire back?
Yeah, I didn't need that questionnaire back up because but if you sent me that, that's great.
Oh,
But
okay.
I want everybody else to know what's in there, so as we incorporate that, again, you will have something to review by the end of the week.
Okay.
And I think that gets all my questions answered.
Would you need to include in that description a establishment of a succession plan? Or is that something our interim city manager?
I would say that's part of the staffing plan, succession, I always encourage localities, if they can find the capability to do it, to get an assistant or a deputy in here, because that's your succession plan. And I know it comes with a cost, but it also comes with an opportunity, and it also comes with a capacity to do more work, frankly, for council, and to get your priorities and your initiatives moving in a better direction. What is difficult, the ideal situation would be a manager leaves and you promote from within and you move on. You don't hire me, and that's great. Frankly, that was my experience when I became a county administrator. I had been the assistant county administrator for 3 years. I thought it worked fine. The governing body, I had no expectation they would do that, but that was the path they decided to take. It was nice for them to have that opportunity if they wanted to pursue that. And so that means, for succession planning, getting that in. And then whether you've got the ability to do that in your other departments, your larger departments like Public Works or Police or whatever, then you need, that's the staffing plan that I think ought to be worked on with the new manager.
I thought we were working on 3 positions: city manager, city attorney, and clerk.
I want to go to clerk right now. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So again, I don't believe that the clerk's position is going to be someone who's going to come from out of town. I think it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying that they wouldn't. And normally, the positions we advertise nationally. I would also suggest that for a community of this size, an alternative approach would be to keep the city manager designated as the clerk, and then create a position of deputy city clerk. And a deputy under the Virginia law, correct me if I'm wrong, has the same authority as the position, as the clerk position. Obviously, they're not going to do anything that the clerk disagrees with, but they can do the same thing that a clerk does. It makes the
Question,
lines.
Legally, does that deputy clerk, are they under the, I guess you could say, the city manager hire and fire, or is that deputy clerk under the control of the council?
That's exactly where I was going. That deputy clerk position is under the control of the city manager, and council holds the city manager responsible and accountable for the performance of that individual. And I think in some ways that can work better because the manager is, it depends on how many positions you want reporting to council and what council's role is in interacting with those positions that report to council. There's a greater potential, I think, in some communities of somebody going and playing the clerk against the manager, because you don't work for the manager, you just happen to be in the same office with the manager. Those two have to work very closely together. Ultimately, if the clerk has trouble getting an agenda to you, and that's part of the clerk's responsibility, the manager has responsibility for getting an agenda out too. Those two have to work very closely together. And so I would offer for your consideration the option that you do create the deputy clerk position. It's going to take 3 people to do that job: the executive assistant to the manager, the clerk, and then the manager.
Or deputy clerk.
But so create it as a deputy clerk position. If you create an independent clerk position, that clerk is going to want administrative assistance. And then does he or she have her own little office with her own people that are reporting to her now, or him? I just, in a small community like this, I think it's much clearer and much cleaner if you can get over the fact that that deputy clerk does not report to council and reports to the manager, and you hold the manager accountable for, you're holding the manager accountable for most everything else that goes on in this community, except for the attorney stuff. There's no responsibility there. So I would ask that you consider that.
So what you're suggesting is, instead of doing it like we've been doing it, where the city manager is the clerk and her assistant, her administrative assistant is the deputy clerk, have a separate
Specific
job,
deputy clerk
a
position.
separate person to be the deputy clerk, and then the city managers.
Would remain the clerk with the ultimate responsibility for making sure those minutes are right, those agendas are right, those record keeping is right. It gives you a little bit more, it also means that the 3 people can work together more closely because they're all on the same team. The clerk won't, ever say, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't work for you. And now my person doesn't work for you either. And you don't have the ability to have a very large administrative office. And so the more you can get those folks working together without them being in silos, I think the better. And so that would be my recommendation, is that you just consider that. Create the position. You need the position, but make it a deputy clerk and keep the responsibility of the clerk's responsibilities on the manager.
So that means one less person that Berkeley will have to find, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm for that.
Yeah, and I also think it's going to be a much different recruitment for us because we're going to be dealing with local folks. I mean, I just don't think somebody's going to say, I'm willing to bring my spouse, my family here for that. Plus, it would be a lower salary than what you.
And would that go through
the
Ms.
manager?
Jacobs?
I'm sorry.
Would that go through Ms. Jacobs, through personnel?
Yes.
For that position?
Yes, and you've got a job description. I think you need to make sure you're comfortable with that. You need to authorize the position to be filled because you've got a budget for it. And then it would go through Ms. Jacobs, but it would be the manager's hire, whether that was Lincoln's hire or the next manager's hire.
Right.
That doesn't matter.
Right.
But how does that affect the instructions of the charter in regards to, would we have to initiate those charter changes, which I don't foresee that being a problem with the City and Towns Committee in Richmond, but in order for us to deviate from the instructions of the charter, we have to get permission. This is a Dillon
Right.
state, as you know.
Right. So I'm not familiar with your charter, but I am familiar with what the state law says. And the state law says that the governing body has to hire a clerk. And it's a common practice across the Commonwealth that the manager, you don't have to hire a manager. There's no requirement under state law for you to hire a manager, but you have to have a clerk. You also have to have an animal warden, and you have to have a finance person. I think those are the only 3 that they're absolutely required. And they can hire an attorney if they want to. And so it's, unless your charter says the clerk has to be an independent, separate position from the manager, make the manager the clerk, and you've satisfied the charter. You've also satisfied the state code. And I would hope they're consistent, but if they're not, that's part of what your charter review group needs to do, to make sure you're consistent with state law too. So I guess what I'm looking for is direction from council that we will not continue with the clerk's recruitment. We will go with the 2 position profiles attorney and manager and work those in parallel on the schedule that we've given you.
Is that agreeable to everybody?
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
I agree, and looking at the charter, it doesn't say that it has to be the way you described it. It could be an individual, another individual.
I mean, I served as clerk to my governing body for years when I was a county administrator, and then they finally let me hire a deputy clerk, and it was great. And I think now they're 3 times bigger than when I was there. They have a separate clerk. And when I went to Lynchburg, there was a separate clerk as well. That's fine. Much bigger community. Have we missed anything? Do you have? I know what time it is. Is there any questions
2.
from council? Lincoln, have we missed anything from your point of view? Steve?
I have one follow-up question that I want to ask. Council was very clear about the residency for the city manager. We did not talk about that for the city attorney. Is there a sense on council's part? I will tell you that from my personal experience and knowledge, that governing bodies tend to be more relaxed about that requirement when it comes to the attorney than the city manager or the county administrator. There are localities that do impose a requirement for residency by the attorney. One way that we could address it would be to express that it's council's preference, but it's not a requirement that the attorney live within the city limits.
I don't think the charter works.
The charter doesn't address residency, and in my opinion, and it used to be in our employee manual and policy that all department heads were required to live within the city. And me personally, which I'm just one, but I think that if our city is good enough for you to take money out of, it should be good enough for you to live here. So I would like it to be, but I can't say because I know it will possibly put limitations on our potential candidates. So the way you said preference is a good way. Me personally, I wish they'd rather live here because they have a vested interest in the growth of our city.
That was kind of, we had a similar code provision in Lynchburg that department heads were supposed to live in the city, but it was very hard when I found the department head who I really needed, who lived in the county 3 miles outside the city limits, and to tell them, okay, you have to sell your house, buy a house 3 miles away, move your children out of a school system.
7% interest.
Can we have it negotiable? Because 3 miles and 50 miles is 2 different stories.
The preference language works, and we'll see who we get and where they live.
And where they're willing to live.
If they're coming from
Well,
Southwest Virginia, they probably need to move here.
yeah. Well, I think one thing, housing is an issue.
Yes.
So basically, we have to take that into consideration.
Which is why we often give people 6 months to a year to make that move if that move is part of the agreement.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the,
Anything
Mr. I can't forget your name, Mr. Rosenberg, because that was my childhood doctor in New York, Dr. Rosenberg.
I've never lived in New York, but if that helps you, great.
Well,
All right, do I have a
I know
motion?
we've kind of rushed this through at the end, but if there's any other questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. You will get something from us by the end of the week, and then we'll look forward to seeing you on November 24th, and then think about what's going to work best for those interviews, those on-site interviews in December probably. But thank you again for the opportunity to be of service. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for adjournment of the work session? You have a motion, do I have a second? Second. All right, a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock.
Well, you know how the press is. All it takes is one, right?
Oh, you're telling me.
All right. Just gonna say goodbye.
Before we get started, we have 3 people signed up for citizens' time. Would you indicate to me if you're going to, did you want to speak at citizens' time or during the public hearing? Citizens? Okay, thank you. Public hearing? Thank you. All right, call the 7 o'clock regular meeting for Franklin City Council for Monday, September 22nd to order. A roll call. Todd Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Kitchen? Here. Banks?
Here.
Ms. Copeland?
Present.
Mr. McLemore?
Present.
Mr. Grizzard?
Present.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll turn off, silence your cell phones, and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We weren't exactly in unison, but I think we got it done. The citizens' time, we have 2 people signed up now. Brandon and Lily, please. I would normally tell you the rules, but I think both of you know the rules.
I think so, yes, sir. Brandon Lilly, presently living out of Franklin, but have the keys to 105 Homestead Road still in Ward 6. So I came this evening to speak to the City Council about the stakes involved in the decision for naming a Ward 6 representative as a citizen that lived in Ward 6 for 8 years, and set a nice foundation for the evening. Recently, data was released by the Department of Education showing the state testing results for all divisions. When the results were posted, FCPS took no accountability for the results. Instead, they spent their meeting over slides highlighting areas where they made gains in green, even when the gains were in the 20% range, making it the first time in my professional career I have seen state testing scores highlighted in green for 20% passing. None of the declines they experienced were highlighted in red. They spent the rest of the time denouncing some document circulating social media, saying it wasn't from the VDOE. I examined this document, and it's evident the person that made it used data from the VDOE website to rank the divisions. While I don't know the origin of the document, I thought I could do better. Now, since FCPS is adamant this information was false, I took the liberty to investigate it myself, creating my own spreadsheet, pulling state testing scores for every division in the state, adding hyperlinks to the Virginia Department of Education website school quality reports for every division, and breaking down the scores in reading, math, and science, since those are the 3 primary areas factored into school accountability. I have shared this spreadsheet with the board and City Council, so it's in your emails if you haven't seen it. Now, most of the new accountability system comes down to reading and math, so I'm going to discuss that tonight. For the past 3 years, reading in FCPS went from 48% down to 47%, and this year 43%. For the past 3 years, math went from 35% down to 34%, and this year 29%. After ranking all the divisions myself and their scores for this past year, I will echo what that document circulating on social media said. Franklin is ranked last in the state for outcomes, period. Petersburg scored 1 percentage point less in reading, 1 percentage point less in science, and 8 percentage points higher in math. When I applied the accountability formula issued by the VDOE, Franklin ranked dead last, 131st out of 131 schools in the state. They will say that it doesn't have the data showing growth, but how can you grow if you regressed? This data shows 2 years of continued decline under the superintendent's leadership, And we have articles in the Tidewater News praising the job he's doing. I ordered the council to consider these results and the continued decline of FCPS as you make your decision. The voters are listening, and this decision is going to ultimately end up serving as your indictment of the board, or the election following will serve as the citizens' indictment of you, because change is coming, and everybody has to decide which side they want to be on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lees?
Good evening. My name is Pam Lease. I reside at 1313 Clay Street. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager for letting me speak. When the citizens of Franklin voted for you, it was for times like this, moments when critical decisions must be made that affect not only today, but the future of our community. The vision statement of the city reads, by the year 2030, the city of Franklin, Virginia will maintain our small city identity, heritage, and beauty while being a regional hub for economic opportunities, top-class education, a job-ready workforce, and a balanced housing options. This is a very inspiring vision, but to reach it, we must face the truth. Right now, our school division is in crisis. Our students are struggling academically. We are facing a $3.8 million deficit. Staff morale is low. Our leadership divisions are too often based on retaliation or personal agendas instead of what is best for our children. There has been progress. Your appointments of Ms. Bailey and Mr. Grant have brought much needed transparency and accountability to the school board, but their voices are still outnumbered by those who support the status quo, no matter the cost of our schools and our community. All of you have the opportunity to continue Franklin moving forward by appointing Mr. John Osbrook to the school board. This is not about friendships, politics, or positions within the community. This is about doing what's best for our students, teachers, and the future of Franklin. Our community has been patient. We have heard the pledges to bring about change, and we thank you for the steps that you've already taken, but we cannot stop now. Your vote is a choice between the change that aligns with Franklin's vision and the status quo that holds us back. We may not be able to hold the school board accountable on the ballot box, but we can and we will hold you all accountable for the decisions that you make. On behalf of the students, families, and teachers at Franklin, I urge you to keep your promises about your vision, the city's vision, and appoint Mr. Osbrook to help our schools toward the future that Franklin deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. That's done. Well, I can't undo it. All right, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Take a vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Kitchen?
Aye.
Ms. McLemore?
Aye.
Okay. And aye. Motion carries. Introductions. It's my pleasure to introduce two councils already met, but to the public, Mr. Lincoln Saunders, our new interim city manager, who comes to us by way of time in the Richmond City Manager's office for about 8 years, and prior to that in the governor's office for a number of years. Take it away, Mr. Saunders. Give us a little bio.
Well, sure. Thank you, Mayor, and again, thank you to every member of council for this opportunity. Obviously, it is, I know, a challenging time for Franklin with a lot of transitions in place. What I, would share is I have been just incredibly impressed with the talent of the directors and staff that I've had an opportunity to meet with so far here at the city. I know we have a couple of introductions of some new team members to make here shortly. But Mayor, yes, I currently am working with a consulting firm called Capital Results, doing local public affairs, working with local governments across Virginia. And so it's just a unique opportunity, and was thrilled to have this opportunity to work with the city of Franklin. So I know we've got a lot in front of us. We'll talk a little bit later tonight, updates related to our annual audits. There's a number of items related to capital projects, to kicking off a master planning process. there's a lot in front of us, and so for myself, I'm going to do everything I can to set you all up and set your next manager up for success when they walk in the door.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Welcome. And you're going to do 2 more.
Yes, if you could. Again, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of council, if you'll indulge. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeff DeLine, who is our new finance director. He has all of 2 days additional experience over me with the city. He was here, I believe, 2 Fridays ago, and I showed up the next Tuesday. Jeff joins us from Suffolk, where he was the comptroller. He brings a tremendous amount of experience in the public auditing space. So given where we are and some of our needs in the finance department, I've been incredibly impressed with how quickly Mr. DeLine's gotten up to speed with both the needs and the opportunities. And so if I could just allow him to briefly introduce himself.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, again, I'm Jeff DeLine. I appreciate the opportunity, and it should be a fun challenge. Just by looking at things, like you said, I got 12 total days here now, so, but that's nothing compared to what we're going to go forward. So I look forward to working with the City Council, working with the City Manager, getting things done that we need to do. So if you ever have any questions, please contact the City Manager. He'll have all the answers. So.
Thank you.
We'll add that Mr. DeLine has over 20 years with a public auditing firm working with local governments, as well as extensive career, including overseas deployments with the U.S. Army. He's got a lot of great stories if you can get a chance to hear them.
All right, thank you.
If I could, next is Mr. Joseph Carter, who is our new Community Development Director. Joe started with us last Monday. He has also a full plate coming in the door, working to name and acting building commissioner, as well as getting up to speed on any of our CDBG and other projects that require us to make sure we're keeping them moving in order to protect some of the funding sources through HUD and otherwise. But I believe I can say that I know that Joe and I are talking daily now about how to get us to the kickoff and next steps with the update to the comprehensive plan, which has to be a big priority for us as a community. Joe, if you please.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders, and good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor. Good evening, everyone in the City Council. I'm honored to be the city's Director of Community Development. I have 20-plus years of public sector experience from all types of specialties, from the housing, federal grants, to environmental, to land use planning, project management, as well as policy development and code amendment ordinances. I came here from the city of Colonial Heights, where I was also the Director of Planning and Community Development, and there I led some key amendments to city code, as well as reviewing land development applications and coordinating completion of some community projects there that had federal funding. Prior to that, I was in Loudoun County for 10 years, and that's the fifth fastest growing county in the nation. And there I was in charge of leading committees, developing growth management policies that were physically responsible for the locality, and as well as monitoring projects and managing projects there. So I chose Franklin because I believe that I can have the most impact here with my skill set. And I believe the city has a rich history. I can sense a strong community here, and I'm really excited about the future that is here it seems full of opportunity. So my role here is to guide us through that process. I'm looking at implementing some policies for the city, as well as being very impactful on process improvements and collaborative redevelopment strategies.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You gentlemen don't have to sit through the meeting, but we're glad to have you if you want to join us.
I think everyone's plate is pretty full. They'll probably take the time to go do some catching up.
That's right.
And Jeff will be back with us a little bit later.
Okay. We have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. Take the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. And aye. All right. Within that consent agenda, we have the adoption of a resolution celebrating the life of, I'm just going to call him Elliott Cobb, Gardner Elliott Cobb Jr., former Mayor of Franklin. I'd like to ask Mr. Kitchen to read that for us.
Resolution number 2025-78, resolution to honor and celebrate the life and public service of Gardner Elliott Cobb Jr. Whereas Gardner Elliott Cobb Jr., born on July 11th, 1939, was a proud son of Franklin, Virginia, who graduated from Franklin High School in 1956, went on to the University of Virginia, earning degrees in accounting in 1960 and law in 1966. Whereas Mr. Cobb began his professional career with Union Camp Corporation in 1967, rising to become Vice President and General Counsel, later shared his wisdom and counsel with the Franklin community through a long and respected private law practice till his retirement in 2018. Whereas Elliott Cobb devoted himself to public service, serving as a member of Franklin City Council, then as Vice Mayor, and ultimately as Mayor from 1980 to 1986. Whereas calm leadership helped guide the city during a period of both industrial growth and community transition. Whereas those who worked alongside him recall Mayor Cobb as a thoughtful listener and bridge builder, quick with humor to ease tension and steady in moments of challenge. Whether navigating difficult budget decisions or welcoming new industries to Franklin, whereas Mayor Cobb was widely admired for his generosity of spirit, often saying that Franklin's strength came not from any one leader, but from neighbors working side by side. Whereas beyond elected office, Mr. Cobb gave countless hours of service to his church, manual Episcopal, to the Franklin Rotary Club, to the Southern Memorial Hospital Board, to the village at Woods Edge, where he encouraged new models of senior care and community living. Whereas friends fondly remember his joy in mentoring young professionals, his willingness to lend legal or professional advice at any personal advice at any hour, his love of storytelling, particularly about baseball, Franklin history, and his beloved University of Virginia Cavaliers. Whereas Elliott Cobb's legacy is one of integrity, kindness, and civic devotion, leaving Franklin a stronger and more connected community. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Franklin, Virginia, the City of Franklin honors and celebrates the life of Gardner Elliott Cobb Jr. with the gratitude for his distinguished service as mayor, attorney, mentor, and citizen. The council extends its deepest condolences to his family with appreciation for sharing his time and talents with the community. This resolution should be entered into official minutes of the Franklin City Council, and a commemorative copy presented to his family as a lasting token of appreciation. Up to this 22nd day of September 2025 of the Franklin City Council.
And Betsy, could I get you to come down front? We're going to do it on this side since the photographer's on that side. Come time for our public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to come forward to speak in favor of either candidate for school board? Please state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Natasha Pro, and I reside at 410 Thomas Street. I am here today in full support of Dr. Alvin Harris for the school board Ward 6 appointment. Dr. Harris is not only a respected professional, but also a pillar of our community. He and his family have dedicated themselves to uplifting children and families in meaningful, lasting ways. At one point, the Harris family was giving out scholarships to students who attended their alma mater, investing directly in the future of our young people. Dr. Harris was also instrumental in the YMCA Black Achievers Program, which was a program that I was involved in and helped to shape me while I was a student at Franklin High School. The program helped to guide students toward academic achievement, leadership, and service. Dr. Harris brings not only a proven record of service, but also integrity, vision, and a heart for young people. That's the kind of leadership we need on the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. I did not notice, I'm sorry, I did not notice that somebody has to nominate the candidates they wish, so one person coming up for each candidate could nominate if they wish to.
Just nominate. I nominate Dr. Alvin Harris.
Thank you. Next person. Hello, please state your name and address.
Hi, good evening. I am Sharice Parker Freeman, and my address is 1526 River Creek Crescent, Suffolk, Virginia. And I stand this evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, just to highlight Dr. Alvin Harris. I am a product of YMCA Black Achievers as well, and I was a part of the medical cluster. And Dr. Harris, believe it or not, early one Saturday morning, brought in actually pig feed. And it may sound gruesome to several people in the room this evening, but it was actually an opportunity to excite us about the opportunity of learning science and exploring the medical and health professions. He took us, 8th and 9th graders, to Eastern Virginia Medical School, where we walked the halls of the institution, and we got to experience and be involved with cadavers. And so it was a really great opportunity. Dr. Harris understands the importance of creative learning environments. He understands the importance of making sure that all children have access and that they can imagine and reimagine. He's concerned about the whole being of the child, their growth and their development. And so you may say, well, why is she here? I'm a proud product of Dr. Alvin Harris because he planted that seed in me. I hold a PhD from Eastern Virginia Medical School, and I'm a proud native of Franklin, Virginia. So I grew up in this area, and so I am proud to represent YMCA Black Achievers, but most importantly, that influence that he had with me. I came back from college, Virginia Union University. I had majored in biology, didn't really know what I was going to do at that time frame, and he said, come meet me one weekend down at Eastern Virginia Medical School, and he said, you can do it. And so with the low morale, the low test scores, we need someone who's compassionate and credible about our children and the school system. We need someone not focused on who to remove, but we need someone focused about rebuilding and shaping the community and uplifting our teachers and our students. And I believe wholeheartedly, because of my experience, my oldest brother's an engineer, my youngest brother works in DC for the Homeland Security, and so Dr. Harris, he has definitely planted that seed in my entire family. And so again, I agree that Dr. Harris is an excellent candidate for the school board in bringing a level of creativity to the classroom. He could be at home watching Westerns and games, but he's committed to transforming this community as well as transforming the school system. So again, Dr. Alvin Harris, thank you.
All right, next person. Nobody else wishes to speak? But now it's the public hearing. She didn't, not during the public hearing, though.
Hello. I think you're familiar with me. Little joke. I would like to nominate John Alsbrook as a representative for Ward 6 as a person who's lived there 8 years. I had the privilege of working with John Alsbrook at Southampton High School for a brief period of time. And he is in the field of education and a dedicated educator. He's been very vocal about needing change in our school systems. And again, I have nothing to say against Dr. Harris. do not know the gentleman, and I'm sure he's an awesome gentleman. But what we need right now in Franklin, when we are literally the worst in the state, and I mean we're almost 10 percentage points in every category from even the next person, from even the next one. Like, that's not even close, y'all. We need somebody who will do change, and with all due respect, like, we do need somebody who's gonna come in and say, this is who we need to change. We need to realize when we saw the school board meeting this week, and they had these flow charts where they added to central office, why did nobody on that school board, nobody in that central office say, let's cut 2 of these positions, consolidate them, and not just have a math specialist and a reading specialist, let's have a elementary reading specialist and a high school reading specialist. An elementary math specialist and a high school math specialist, have them in the building every day, have them supervising, monitoring. Why are we looking at all these different things and we're adding to central office to jobs that don't need to happen or don't even need to be created? We need somebody who is going to say we do need cuts. We do need somebody to make the hard decisions, and we do frankly need somebody who is going to want to advocate change. This has nothing to do with character or anything else right now. This is literally, where do you want Franklin to be in a couple years? Do you want us to still be at the bottom, or do you want us to actually have a chance to go somewhere else because we may change when we could? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else on either candidate? Drop the mic a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely have to drop the mic. I'm Brenda Peterson, and I do live in Ward 2. Right now, I see Franklin, both the city as a whole, as well as the schools, at a crossroads. We have 2 choices here. We can take a candidate that we know will just rubber stamp everything that's being done in our schools, and we have data for the last 3 years that show it's not working. Our scores are continually going down. We have gone from not the greatest, but to the absolute dead last in the state. That's not going in the right direction. Because you don't have decent schools where kids are learning and passing and being able to have a great school system like we should have, it's affecting the economy of our city. People are leaving. People are pulling their children out of school. Go look at the number of learning pods and homeschool activities and areas or people in this area that have pulled their children from the schools and put them in these different alternative school settings or even in private schools. Yes, they keep saying that their numbers are growing. Yes, they keep adding to the district office. They keep dumping on the teachers, increasing school size, classroom size. Nothing is getting done. Funds are a huge problem. We need a candidate, whoever you choose, that's going to get up there, be a voice that's going to say, no, we got to stop this. We need to go in a different direction. Doing the same old isn't cutting it. We can't go any further than last. We need to go in the other direction. Make a U-turn. Make a change to have somebody push back and say, look, we can't do this anymore. Maybe we should try A, B, or C over here instead of the same old. That's a huge problem before it impacts the rest of our community and we die. And we don't want to die as a community.
Thank you. Anybody else for either candidate? Going once? Going twice? Third and final call? Public hearing is over. All right. The vote will take place at our next scheduled meeting, which will be the 6th of October, because the 13th is a holiday and we've got too much on our agenda to only have one meeting next month. We move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number A, item number 2025-77, this is the item that's continued from your September 8th City Council meeting. I would like to make a recommendation to Council, if I may, that as you are aware, the Finance Director and I are currently diving into, obviously, the financials as well as conversations over the past several months related to school funding. Given that this funding applies to the 2024-2025 school year that's already concluded and we're in a new fiscal year, I don't see that there's a financial urgency to adopting this resolution tonight, and I think that it could be more easily discussed as part of a comprehensive report out from Mr. DeLine and myself regarding essentially the materials that will go into our 2025 audit.
All right, can we pass this along? Do we need a motion to pass it along, or just?
I do believe you need a motion to continue.
Okay. All right, the city manager.
Make a motion to table the issue.
Okay, we have a motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, take vote. Start with Dr. Johnson.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries with 4 votes. All right, next one.
I hand it over to Sands Anderson to present the next item.
Council, as you all know, the last meeting on September 8th, you agreed to terms to present to the city manager, former city manager, in closed session. Former city manager has since agreed to those terms. So I'm here today just to ask for a motion to ratify the separation agreement and authorize the interim city manager to execute this agreement on your behalf.
All right. Do I have somebody willing to make a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, do we need the wording?
I can just say it and then we
Okay,
can, yeah.
okay.
I'm asking for city council to ratify the separation agreement with the former city manager consistent with the terms previously approved and agreed upon by city council in closed session, and authorize the interim city manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the city.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right.
I'd just like to say I was unable to attend that meeting, so I am not familiar with the terms that were discussed.
All right. All right. Any other discussion? All right. Take the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
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 Abstain?
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries. All right. Thank you very much. Move on to boards and commissions. Report from SIPSA.
Yes, sir. As council may be aware, the former city manager was named as the ex officio representative for the city to the SIPSA board. There is a meeting this Wednesday where they have to have a vote of 3/4 of the members, and as of this time, Franklin does not have a named either appointment or the ex officio appointment that can serve in their absence. Obviously, it's the pleasure of council who you would like to name. The SIPSA has requested that we name someone that can attend for this week, for the Wednesday. As I shared in my correspondence with you over the weekend or in the last week, I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to either make a recommendation or follow council's direction as to who you would like to sit in that meeting this week and serve as the ex officio for the city.
Do I have a motion to accept the interim city manager in that position with SIPSA? Would anybody, does anybody else want it? I'm sorry, that's a good point.
No, so moved.
So moved, okay.
If you have, it's been in the past that the city manager
Right.
would handle those duties.
Right, it's always been the city manager in the past, in my understanding.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All right, I'll take the vote. Dr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kitchen?
Aye.
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 And aye. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
anybody else have any boards or commissions?
I have from the report from the jail board, which I'm chair of, we completed our security update of the jail. So the jail has a new security system that's working very efficient, and we have a, a drone basically that operates at the jail. For instance, if someone would drive up, the drone would recognize who the person is and so forth, and it's extra protection for security. And the other part, we agreed to move forward basically with getting a youth facility. We're working on that to get that addressed.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't be at that meeting.
Right. It was a good meeting. We went through that, and the city manager was present, and we went forward with getting everything ready to move forward.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, I'd just briefly share that I, on behalf of the city, attended the Hampton Roads Military Family Facilities, gosh, that's a long acronym, I'm trying to remember.
Harumfa. Yeah.
Meeting on behalf of the city, nothing significant to report, but good meeting. And then the HR TAC meeting later that day, additional bonds were issued for completion of the 64 widening project. There's an upcoming, I think, breakthrough ceremony for the third crossing. But those would be the primary items.
HRPD, yeah.
Correct, yes, sir.
All right. Update on the annual comprehensive financial report. I guess that goes to you.
Yes, sir. If I could, I'd like to ask Mr. Deline to come up and give us an update on where he is with the review of the 24 audit.
Hello again. Okay.
You got a nice break.
I did have a nice break. It was a little faster than I thought it was going to be, but that's all right. That's good for you guys. Okay, 12 days ago we came in. I got a good understanding of where we were from the previous city manager. Started making contact with the city auditor to find out what she knew. I had multiple conversations with her, multiple emails with her. We're passing information back and forth right now so that I can get all their information on how they prepared our financial statements and make sure that I'm looking at all those financial statements and doing the same comparisons. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review all the trial balances from both Adina, who was the consultant at the time and is still our consultant. She did a comparison between the Edmunds, which is our software system, our trial balances, to the auditor's trial balances, and then I'm going to compare those to the financial statements, read all the financial statements, and then report back to the city manager of my thoughts. But I'm also going to work with the auditor with any changes that I think might be necessary, and between the two of us, the auditors and myself, we should be able to come to a conclusion. I'd like to still get this on the agenda for October 6th for her to present that, and that's our goal. As soon as we get the 24 out the door, that'll be better for all of us, and then we can get the 25 started. That's what my update is. Do you have any questions?
Thank
or
you.
maybe I shouldn't ask that.
So it's dangerous. Any questions?
No, well, I would just like to say, I think that is a good assessment without making an assumption of what's going on. You're getting all of the facts, because facts are the issue to deal with. And I appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions?
Yes, I am very impressed with your credentials, but do you feel as though, and I know you were talking about, we were discussing the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, but in light of the fact that we've had 2 city managers within the last 2 years, and there are major discrepancies in the finances, do you think that a forensic audit is warranted for the city to look at 22, 23, 24, and 25?
I can't answer that question at this point in time. I haven't had enough chance. I haven't had a chance to kind of go through everything I need to go through in order to give you a good answer. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Jeff?
Thank you,
All
Jeff.
right. Anything else to be brought before the council? All right, do I have a motion for adjournment? Oh, I'm sorry, did I skip council comments? I did not. Oh, it's not on here.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on here, but can we add that with that?
It's certainly up to council. I think I might have dropped it off when I was adding the SIPSA addition to the agenda.
Do we need to make it?
I think it's up to you.
Probably next
Okay.
meeting, Mr. Mayor, where we can, not unless you just have something pressing.
Oh, no,
to comment
if
on.
you have comments to make, go ahead. Anybody have comments? Do you want to make comments?
Yeah, I guess we're kind of changing things, and I didn't know. So yes, I would like to make a council comment. So in lieu of the school board appointment, I just wanted to say thank you to the people that came out to support it, to support the two candidates. Ward 6 is the ward that I ultimately represent, and I definitely have listened to every email, every person, and I've taken everything into consideration. But I just wanted to clear the air tonight that there seems to be misrepresentation of Dr. Alvin Harris being a plant by central office. And I just wanted to go on record that I personally asked him to run for this position or to come up for appointment, that it's not a plant. It's not something from central office, but it was a personal conversation that I had with him. Originally declined and eventually accepted. And like Mr. Lilly said, working with Mr. Alsbrook at Southampton High School, me as well as Natasha Pro, who spoke, we worked with him as well. And out of the two candidates, I do feel that Dr. Alvin Harris is the better choice between the two. Now, this is a body, and it takes four. But tonight we've heard from everyone, and so I just wanted to make that clear because we've heard rubberneck, we've heard we don't want to rubberneck and go back, and I don't understand how that connotation has been created. So I just wanted to clear the air personally.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would just like to say that the city of Franklin is moving forward in spite of changes we've had in staff. We have a full staff, but what we have to recognize in those changes that our department heads were still in place and the city is still moving forward. What we're doing now is pulling things together to move forward and to make Franklin a better community. And I appreciate everyone that is working together to do that, because it's going to take all of us, the citizens and everyone involved, working together as a team and community unity to make this happen. Even though each city has problems, but we just can't look at the problems. We have to alleviate the problems by working together and moving forward. Thank you for your support.
I just wanted to say, echo what Dr. Johnson has said, but I feel like Ms. Oglesby put us in good position with Mr. DeLine and Mr. Carter coming in to community development, and we brought on Mr. Saunders, who I think is going to do an outstanding job for us in the interim. And I think we are, for the first time in a long time, fully staffed when it comes to department heads and good department heads. And I think we've got the department heads that were here have certainly done an outstanding job with the shortcomings we've had at the top. Thank you. What else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any nays?
Supposed to be any comments? Any discussion?
Discussion? Yeah, I don't think you have to have discussion on motion to adjourn. I believe that's right. All that, by saying yea? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.